Hey, everybody. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast. Welcome back. Today, before we start our podcast, I would like everybody to do an experiment with me. I want you to take a deep breath in your nose and let it out. Now, that felt good, right? That felt good. So my question is, why does that feel good? And to answer that question, I have not only my friend, not only an expert breathing coach, but my cousin, Morgan. Morgan, would you tell me what you do, what your expertise is in, and then we'll get into talk about breathing, because I have a little reservations on some of the spirituality of breathing. Like I think my first exposure to like breath work was doing yoga classes, and I just kept thinking, this is weird. Like I don't know what we're doing. So what is it that you do? And just tell me, help me
Yeah.
breathe.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast. I love tuning in. I binged probably 5 episodes yesterday, so that was a good start to my day. But yeah, your reservation, your question, that's probably one of the biggest questions I get when it comes to people of the faith learning about what type of breath work is it exactly that you guide? How did you get into it? And for me, I really found this type of breathing at a point of desperation. I've been a blogger, content creator for about 4 to 5 years, and I just reached a point of just numbness, apathy to what I was doing, didn't really have a lot of direction. And I'd spent all this time of God leading me down this journey. I felt really frustrated thinking, okay, I've spent all this time. You've led me here. Now what? So I actually got on YouTube and came across a short 5-minute daily practice of this type of breath work. And it's somatic. So somatic breath work. Soma means your body. So essentially what this is body breath work. It's solely your respiration, solely your breath. You're not channeling anything. I know that's something that comes up with, for example, like you said, Danny, in yoga, a lot of that is very much tied to the origin of yoga, the spirituality of yoga. And that is a lot of the intention as you're trying to move something through you. You're trying to connect to a spiritual level in that sense in regards to their religion. And for this, it's solely the breath. You're not channeling anything. You're just using your breath to move through stored emotions, stored stressors, to clear your mind, to connect and really begin your day much stronger, much more aware of how it is you are feeling. So the beauty of this is it really is just that. And as a practitioner of the somatic breath work, I'm with a person guiding them through with their breath, with music, and just allowing them to connect with their body and solely use their breath and whatever messages, whatever it is God has to show them. Maybe it's something stored, a stress in their body that they're trying to work through. They don't even realize. To me, a lot of it really does come to God allows that to come up, allows you to push through that, kind of like in talk therapy, except it's for your body. So a lot of us forget that. We channel our mind, we use our mind so much trying to clear out whatever's there in the way, and we forget our body.
Yeah. When I, preparing for this, I kind of was thinking like, what is my thoughts on breathing and the practice of breathing. And I can't say I've ever had a practice of consistently doing something with just my breath. But what I realized though, in like my job, especially at the fire academy where I teach, is I call them kids, we're telling the cadets all the time, dude, chill out, take a deep breath. And because I think we intuitively know when you are amped up, you need to control that. And the only way, like, it's funny, we teach an advanced class called rapid intervention, and it's hard. It's a firefighter has an emergency. There's Mayday. He calls it Mayday, and you go in after him, and it's physically very hard. And guys they get amped up. They start yelling, and everyone's basically just amped up. And there's a joke that never in the history of telling someone to calm down has it caused them to calm down. And so one of the things we tell these guys is they're getting amped up because they get into it. It's pretend, but we're training, and it's physically real. So they'll get amped up and like, listen, everybody stop, take a deep breath. All right. Now think about what you're going to do. And I believe in that. Like that is powerful. I think somehow in my head, they got separated from what like we were doing in yoga versus what I do on a daily basis. And it truly is powerful. Like it is a link to your physiology. Like you can tell yourself to slow down, and maybe you'll help us like what that actually means and the better ways of doing that, as opposed to just think about it, take a deep breath. But it truly does chill you out. Like it's a good feeling. So what is happening when I tell my guys that are amped up, stop, take a deep breath and think about it. What am I doing physiologically? What is that breathing doing?
So a lot of times our body, we if they're amped up, there's a lot of energy moving through them. They're worked up, maybe they're stressed, maybe they just can't calm their mind down. A lot of the issue is that our mind is racing and there's thoughts, there's processes that are moving through that our body hasn't had a chance to digest. So when you take that space to really pause and slow the breath down, calm your body down into that calming state, it allows you to really better see what is it that I'm feeling right now? Why am I feeling stressed? What is it that my body's going through? What are thoughts and stories that are playing out in my head, and are those even true? And what's fascinating too is I think sometimes when we tell, like you said, calm down or breathe, sometimes people get frustrated. They
Right.
think, well, I am breathing, and a lot of times we're
I
not.
wasn't breathing. Yeah.
We're chest breathing, or we're not taking those deep 360 into your back all the way into your spine, diaphragm breaths. And a lot of times we think we don't have time to do that, or we don't know how to do that. So, what's really fascinating about this type of somatic breathing is it actually does ramp up your breath in the beginning. So, when you're doing that, you're actually allowing your body to push through maybe a fight or flight state that it was in a moment of stress, in a moment of even trauma, that allows your body to go back into that, process through it like your body needed to, and then going into that calmer breath, kind of like you cue those guys to do.
Right.
So it allows like a workout. It's kind of like you're working out and then you have the cool down.
Right.
That's really what this somatic breath work is like. And it really allows you to get into that like meditative calming state where you're more chilled out, you're more aware, and it allows you to go through your day more connected and not lashing out on others around you when you could just work it out with your own breath and allow yourself to process.
So, what is an effective breath? Because I think this is funny when we would say like you need to breathe correctly. And most people literally have never thought, like, what does that look like? I'm breathing. I've been breathing every every 6 seconds for my entire life, at least. I've been taking a breath. So for 44 years, I've been breathing, and you're going to tell me that I need to do it correctly. What is just a day to day? What is correct breathing? How do we do it? And why is it important to quote unquote breathe correctly?
So, first off, most of us breathe shallow breaths. So, when we're breathing through our chest, we're actually causing more stress in our body on a physiological level. So, you might think, well, I'm breathing like you're breathing first starting in your chest, not even getting into your diaphragm and that full. And you can feel when you take a good deep breath, feeling up all the way into your back and just slowly exhaling it out, you can feel that even a moment sense of calm. So allowing yourself to take that space and just acknowledge, how is it that I'm breathing now? Why is it that I feel like I have to chest breathe and can't just take that moment to pause and take a deep breath? And having really a routine in your morning, especially as you begin your day, just to take 30 of those calming breaths, or even go through the somatic breath work where you take 30 more repattern, more like a clearing breath. So that would be in and out of the mouth
Mhm.
is what I would guide people through, which is still those 360 deep diaphragm breaths. But because you're going in and out of your mouth, it's like a workout. Like
Right.
I know you're very much into fitness, and many of the listeners might be as well getting into that. So it literally is like you're doing a workout. It's a swift exhale and a deeper inhale. And you go through 30 breaths of that. And then you go into, you don't have to even do 30. You could do 10 breaths. You could do 5 just to calm yourself. And then you go into those calmer in through the nose and long exhales out through the mouth. Same big 360 breaths. Because you've worked your breath at the beginning and then go into the calmer, it allows your body to actually process through and really feel more relaxed and actually more aware of how it is you are breathing. And you'll start to find when you get into a practice of maybe 5 minutes every morning doing this, you start to realize when you're not breathing properly throughout the day, and your body starts to tell you, hey, I need to take a deep breath. And that's something I started to notice when I used to never really breathe properly and really take those cleansing breaths. My body now tells me, okay, you need to pause, take 5 cleansing breaths, deep breaths. And your body's it's a muscle. It learns off habit and repetition.
Now you talked about breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth, and they obviously both have a purpose. On a day to day, should I'm not doing anything active. I'm typing at the computer. I'm not working out. Should I be breathing in my nose or in my mouth?
I would say deep inhale through the nose, long exhales out through the mouth. So think about long exhale, that triggers that calming sensation. So when you extend your exhale, that's when your body feels that sense of calm on a physiological level. So if you're sitting at your computer, you just need to pause and really stretch your back even. You can feel your back even stretching with this type of breath. So that would be the breath that I would say, hey, day in and day out, if you're just feeling stressed or feeling tense in your body, maybe even lying down, taking 5 of those cleansing breaths and just noticing how you're actually feeling it into your back, into your core. And that'll also help your workouts. It'll help your fitness capacity, your ability to go further in the fitness too, which is really cool.
What are your thoughts on? I've seen this, and I don't think I struggle with this, so I've never tried it. But when you sleep, some people mouth breathe when they sleep. If you wake up, a lot of people that snore can do this. What are your thoughts on
Hmm.
taping? Have you seen that where they put tape across their lips
Yes.
so they keep their mouth closed? What are your thoughts on taping your mouth closed so you only breathe through your nose at night?
So John Luke, my husband, actually does that every single night. He'll tape his mouth, he'll tape his mouth shut, and he's actually had pretty phenomenal responses with that. I think that there's actually some tape that you could buy that's specialty tape. I think it's called like hostage tape,
Yeah,
which sounds really intense, but I think there's tremendous benefit to that because mouth breathing for that extended period of time and for such a restorative period of time with sleep can be counterintuitive. Whereas when I'm guiding you through, like when I'm saying this somatic breath work, where I am saying more in and out through the mouth clearing breath, it's temporary.
right.
It's a temporary point of healthy stress on your body and then into that calmer breath. But if you're sleeping, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a night, that's far too long. That mouth breathing can actually be counterintuitive. So I actually recommend the tape if you can try that out. People use duct tape, masking tape. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who. There was a YouTuber. He had a doctor surgically, not surgically, implant silicone into his nose, so he couldn't breathe through his nose. And then I think he was going to do it for 2 or 3 weeks. He stopped after a week. His blood pressure went up. His resting heart rate went up. He felt like crap, and it really affected his life. And because if you think about when you're mouth breathing, it's usually it's good like to take in the most amount of air. You have to mouth breathe when you're all out sprinting. You're going to be breathing through your mouth because it's the easiest way to get the most amount of air. Well, when are you sprinting? Well, when you're running away from the lion, right? Well, we don't have lions anymore, so you spend all day mouth breathing. And is it fair to say your body's in a sense of fight or flight? It's in that stressful, um, you know, like I'm worried things are bad. Is that why we should be breathing through our nose? Because mouth breathing is telling our body something's going on and I'm amped up. Is that right? Does that seem right?
That is exactly what it's telling your body. You're telling your body you are literally being chased by a tiger 24/7. And then you throw in, the additional things your body could be carrying that you don't realize that your mind's processed, but your body hasn't.
Right.
And so you add that into the mix and it's no wonder we feel so tense or even, of course we go into like the technology and the blue light and the screens, but just in our bodies we feel so tense because we're not allowing those deep true breaths that our body wants and can do. It causes us to actually stay, like you said, a tiger's chasing you 24/7.
Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just so you don't want to be chased by a tiger.
No.
That's
No.
that. So
100%.
okay. So let's say I believe you, and I think that I could improve my daily practice. I could live a more stress-free, productive life. What does that entail? Is that because there's lots of things you can do that can improve your life, and some of them aren't easy to do, like cold plunges. We were just talking about you have a cold plunge at your house. That there's a lot of research, a lot of data says that's really good, but you also have to have a giant tub full of ice, right? That can be hard to do. How hard is it to get into breathing, somatic breathing? What does a practice of daily breathing look like?
So before we got on this call, I was telling Danny that I actually got into this work from the daily practice. It wasn't the full therapeutic 30 minutes to an hour long session, which I guide people through, but it was just the 5 minute practice, 3 minute practice within a morning that got me into this. And I actually did it for over 100 days in a row. But my intention was never, I'm going to do this for 100 days. It was actually one day. I'm going to try this one day to see how I feel, see if I feel any responses with it. And the first day was hard. The first day, my breath, getting into those clearing breaths, it was very difficult. My body wasn't used to it. It's like, what are you doing to me? Why are you working me right now? I'm trying to relax. But
Right.
by the end of it, doing the working through those breaths, my own pace, which is important. You do it at your own pace. And then going into the more calming breaths at the end, I did notice just a slight sense of more calm, more mental clarity, less stress, more confidence, even. And I began to think there's something to this. Let me try a second day. So I actually have probably 20 plus guided daily practices within Instagram as well as YouTube that you can click play and I'll guide you through the entire thing. And you could do that for a week, every morning, 5 minutes for a week, and just see, okay, what is coming up? Do I feel more mental clarity? Do I feel less stressed? Do I feel more self aware? And what's really beautiful about what can come up is even emotions, even laughter can come up, and your mind can't make sense of it. Like, why is this breath? Why is it causing me to kind of have these emotional releases? And it's physiological as well. So think about in the morning, maybe there's something that you're excited about during the day that you're going to encounter, or even you're nervous about. You'll notice the emotions that come through actually cause you to feel more connected and relieved and clear. And that's what I would say. Try for one day. Try one practice out, and you might notice just one little thing, one little piece of stress just kind of just leaves your body. And that's the beauty of this breath, is it's always accessible. It's God given. God gave us our breath for a reason, not just to survive, but also to thrive. I truly believe that. And it's free, you always have it. So those short practices every day, and even 3 minutes, can be
You,
beneficial.
it didn't start out easy.
Mm.
Is it easy now? Is it just not? Is it like what would not be easy about it? Was it just that it was something new and uncomfortable, like, or is it physically hard, like running on the treadmill? Like what was not easy about it when you first started?
The beginning of that more clearing breath, my body wasn't used to kind of manipulating the breath. So when you're going through these clearing breaths, it is working your body, even though it's just for a short time in these daily practices. My body wasn't used to those 360 breaths. It was used to shallow breathing. Even when I grew up running, I notice now, if I don't run as much anymore, but even on walks, my breath, I can go further. I feel more relaxed. I feel like my body can recover more properly because I've learned how to breathe. So the biggest challenge was really learning how to take these deep breaths, and really starting with the diaphragm, and then it goes up into your chest and into your back. And even practicing with that, even outside of just the actual practice that I would go into, just throughout the day, having to mentally think about it. And now I don't as much, but at first having to mentally think about, am I really taking a deep breath? Was that really an actual breath that I'm capable of, that my body needs? And so it was just getting used to how to breathe. That was challenging at the beginning.
So I want you to expand on that. And obviously, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening, this might be hard. When you say a correct breath or a 360 breath, can you talk through what that actually looks like? Like, does my belly stick out? Like when you say diaphragm, I know that's a big muscle that separates your guts from your lungs, but what does it do?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what is a good, 360 breath, or whatever the word you're going to use to describe that? What does that actually look like?
Yeah, so like you said, your belly expanding. So let's say you're lying down to practice this at first. You're lying down on your back. You're breathing in through the nose, a deep breath. Notice how sometimes your chest wants to fill up first because you're so used to those just chest breathing,
Right.
those fast breaths. So you'll notice your belly begins to rise first, and you may have to practice it a few times just to get used to when it feels right, why it feels right. And then it goes up into your chest, and you'll actually feel it because your diaphragm's expanding. You'll start to feel it into your back, kind of going up into your spine, really. So you feel the breath really cleansing your entire torso, essentially, up into your chest.
So I shouldn't be like taking my shoulders up to my head. Like I shouldn't start there, right?
Right, exactly. You'll feel it kind of going from bottom up, basically. And your chest will be the last thing to rise. So you could do it sitting up, hands on your knees, or lying down to practice, but just beginning to notice that sensation when it feels right, when you notice your chest, your shoulders aren't tensing up, which is a lot of times, like you just demonstrated, what happens. We get tense. Our body thinks the tiger's chasing us. We can't relax. There's no way you're going to get a true breath in that type of a state. So giving yourself space to practice it and noticing how the breath moves through diaphragm first is really important.
Yeah, one thing I think if you're a dad and you've got a baby, just watch them.
Mm-hmm.
How you should breathe. If you watch a little baby, it's their belly's moving exclusively, probably. Their chest isn't moving at all. You can put your hand and you can watch them just breathe through their belly. I think that's it's pretty interesting that we just know how to do it as a kid, as babies, and then we lose it at some point, right? Because of, life and stress and posture and all these things, we lose the ability to breathe correctly, which is kind of interesting that it's even possible.
Before life got in the way, before stories got in the way and things we encountered, which is life. But you're exactly right. Watch your baby, watch how they breathe. And that's how we were innately designed to breathe, like this cleansing breath God gave us.
So we have a morning practice, and maybe at the end, maybe we could work through like a 2 or 3 minute morning practice. But then throughout the day, we experience events and problems and things that are stressful. Is there some breathing we can do to get ready for a stressful event? Like, they say most people would rather die than speak in public. Like that is, phobia of speaking public. So you have a big presentation, you got your PowerPoint ready to go. Your boss and your boss's boss and his boss is there, and this is big. This could mean, your career or promotions, and you're scared and you're nervous. Is there something you
Mm-hmm.
do just before that?
So, interestingly enough, the beginning of this year, I actually did a guided daily practice with a group of young professionals for our Chamber of Commerce here locally. And I guided everyone through the practice that I've been talking about with you. And the whole room was doing it. I had music, I was guiding them. And I do something called like NLP cueing, which is a type of therapy with words, like cueing people in, speaking things like, what do you need to move through you? What stress is in the way? And it makes them like bodily think about that and even their mind process through. So I guided this group through that. And after my session was finished, a guy came up to me and he said, well, actually, after he guided his session, so he spoke after me, and he seemed very energized, very relaxed, very confident. Of course, I've never heard him speak, so I didn't, think anything of it, anything different. And he came up to me after. He was probably in his 60s or so, and he said, I have never felt so relaxed, so connected, so confident ever before speaking. And he started to share just his journey with different forms of therapy and his severe anxiety with speaking on stage.
Mhm.
And he said it was wild to me because I've never done a breath that involves an intense breathing along with a more relaxed breathing. And those two together, and I actually also take people into a breath hold in between those types of breathing to just pause breath and just kind of like a meditation to visualize what it is, like you shared recently in a podcast, that visualization, not in the sense of manifestation, but just visualizing the perspective. And so that was a really impactful moment for me, thinking this is so much bigger than just the people that come to me that are experiencing maybe traumas or high stress. This is the day-to-day, entrepreneur or businessman that wants to just relax and get out of his head.
Mhm.
And so that was really profound, hearing that feedback that day.
That's awesome. And what are your thoughts on box breathing? Go ahead.
I was actually going to say that as well. So cold plunging, that's a type of breathing that I typically do because when I'm getting to the cold plunge, or any of us who've done something challenging like that, I'm not excited to get into the plunge. I'm
Right.
excited about the benefits.
Right.
Although I have started to get a little more, I guess, just aware of the excitement that I feel after, and it makes it easier. But
Right.
the box breathing going into it, that allows me to really focus on the breath
Mhm.
and get it off out of my mind. This is cold, this is hard, I want to get out. It allows me to go that breathe in for 4, hold for 4, like a breath hold, like I was saying, and then release for 4. Doing that, I'm usually in the plunge a couple minutes, but that allows me to really cleanse and get out of my head. And I found when it comes to stuff like that it really allows that to process through. And then all of a sudden I'm finished and the 2 minutes is up or however long. And all I've been thinking about is my breath.
Right.
So I'm not thinking about this is hard, this is hard. it allows me to focus on something else and just breathe through it. This calming in through the nose, out through the mouth types of breaths.
Yeah. So for the guys that are listening, if you don't believe Morgan, which you should, because she's a good, honest person, the Navy SEALs do this. You know, us as firefighters, one of the things, especially now, because I'm not going in, I'm not going to work, meaning physical work. I'm going in to command, and I need to be focused. But my adrenaline's going up because I'm worried about the guys that I'm about to send into a burning building. On my way there, I will do 2 or 3 sets of box breathing as I'm driving to the. Now I don't just try not to hold my breath too long. You know, I don't want to get dizzy, but I will in through my nose for 3 seconds, pause, out for 3 seconds, pause. It is super helpful. They call it tactical breathing. It is, and it really does help. It reminds me just to like, I'm not amped up. I'm not in danger. I need to focus and be ready to make good decisions. And it's easy. I mean, it's a minute. In a minute, you can get multiple rounds of 4, 5, 6 seconds of box breathing, and it's truly helpful. Like it's really important, and it's easy not to do that. But it's when I do it, I'm much more focused. My priorities are kind of set, and it, like you said, it's good. It's a good simple thing to do to just kind of like bring everything back and stay focused. So yeah, I'm a big fan of box breathing.
And it is so simple, like you said. That's really what this is about, is the simple tools, the simple things you can apply to your routine, or you're headed to work and you know what you're about to encounter, you know what you need to be prepared for. It can be intimidating to add in another 30-minute, whatever it is, length of time, just something very long, and it can feel unobtainable. But that is what's beautiful about this, is you don't need to get a big bag of ice and water and go get in your tub and have to like set it up.
Right.
It's right there with you. It's just a matter of being aware of, okay, how am I breathing properly? How do I know when I'm breathing properly? And really that does come with repetition. It's about what you do repeatedly, not what you do just sometimes, right? That's what makes the habits, trains the muscle. So allowing yourself that 1 minute, like you shared, to do that on the way there, on the drive, and just set yourself up for success, really is what this is.
That's cool. So it sounds like you have two different things. You have a daily practice, and then you have therapy. And therapy is kind of like the business side for you. That's what you do. It's what you do with clients. What is is that right?
Yeah, so the daily practices, just free videos I have on social media, on my website, that people can access to really get a taste and allow them to develop the habit of learning how to breathe, what this breath work can do, and then the what is really called like a somatic journey. It's about 1 hour, and people come to me virtually, which is really really interesting that you can receive virtually like this, but also in person in small groups,
Right.
or for small businesses, corporate sessions, all sorts of things. So that's primarily how I see clients, is through those longer sessions that they'll come to me for.
Gotcha. So, can you, so what does your daily practice look like? So you wake up, what are you doing? When are you doing the breath work? When are you doing your cold plunge? What does that look like for Morgan?
Sometimes I'll mix the cold plunge. Like I'll actually do face cold plunges as well. So I'll just put my face in the cold, and then later I'll do like my full body. John, like my husband, goes all the way and he just dunks in it once, and that's his thing. But I will actually sometimes combine the breath work with the cold plunge. If I feel like I'm ready to go ahead and do that face plunge, I will actually go outside by our plunge and do this daily practice. I'll have music playing. I actually go through some of my own guided practices on YouTube, and that way I don't have to think about it. I just follow it. And when I go into the breath hold, that's when I actually put my face in the plunge. And it's about 30 seconds, 20 seconds of my face in the plunge, come out, do the calmer breath. That's the end of the practice. And then do a face plunge again. So I kind of combine those two together. I'm outside. I do some grounding, walk around like in the grass just to wake myself up. And then normally I go into my daily study through the word. I try to get a little movement with our dog, like 5 minute walk. So it just depends on the day. I always try to bring in the breath though, even if I don't necessarily do a body cold plunge every day. I always try to bring in the breath. And I actually have noticed doing this before I go into my daily devotion, I'm actually able to digest what I'm reading more efficiently. That's something that I began to notice, that my mind felt clearer. I felt more aware. I felt more connected. And that was really fascinating to see how I didn't feel as tired going through it and distracted. I could really focus in because I had done that before.
That's cool. And I think it's really easy to just, and I'm guilty of this, get up and go and not really being intentional with the day. Have you read the book Miracle Morning?
I have not. I think John Luke has though.
Yeah,
I need to read that.
it's good. It talks about the benefit of basically having a routine in the morning. And there's some things I do. I'm about 50% of the days I do some form of that. And I find that when I do that, it is my day's better. Like it's more productive. Even if I didn't get anything extra done, just the fact that I woke up and was intentional, I think it's my day's better because I was intentional about it as opposed to just life happening. And I think incorporating something like that would be important. So can you give me a 3-minute morning routine connecting with my breath? I've never done this, so I'm a rookie.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
guiding you through. So you normally I'll have music playing, but we can do it with
And the whole copyright stuff, I might get,
That's true. So, actually, before I go into the breath, I normally kind of guide people through like an awareness exercise. So, it's normally the music is a big part because the music is really gets you kind of into it, and it's calming music. There's not usually like words; it's just like soft music. And then when I do the clearing breath, it's a little more like upbeat, intense. So, because of that, it allows you kind of to get into it
so
with the breath.
random question: where do you find the music at? Just like Spotify?
Spotify is the easiest, and like you said, like for YouTube videos, like for copyright, I'll pull
Sure.
from like non-copyright music to
Gotcha.
record for people. Yeah, but just from Spotify, I have playlists on my Spotify, Morgan Tyner, that you could find
Gotcha.
to listen to. Yeah, but I guide people through that awareness exercise. So people, you're always your eyes closed. So I'll guide you through it.
Okay,
You
I
don't
want
need music.
to so I don't blow anybody up with my.
All right, so all right, go ahead now and just close your eyes. And just bringing awareness to your breath. Without trying to change it. Or put any pressure on it. And just awareness. And begin now just to tune in. What are you feeling? What sensations are you feeling in your body? Maybe it's tension. Maybe it's tension in your back, your shoulders. Maybe you feel loose and relaxed. Now taking it one step further, what emotions are you feeling? Without judging them or trying to change them. Just awareness. Awareness that you're human. And then one step deeper, what are the stories? What stories are you telling yourself? those stories are tied to these emotions or sensations that you're feeling. I'd like to invite you now, before we begin the practice, to think of one thing. What is one intention, one word of how you want to show up for this new day? And whenever you have that intention, see it fully. And with awareness of your breath, let's begin those deep inhales in and out of the mouth like this. Good. Your own pace. Staying inward. Good, clear it out. Any stress, any tension, breathe it out. Good, keep going. You're doing great. Any weight you've been carrying, breathe it out. Any pressure, that you're ready to release. 4 more breaths, you're almost there. Two more. 1 more. Now 1 more deep inhale in. And just hold that breath for a moment. However long feels right. See the fears you've been carrying. See the pressure or stress that was never yours to carry. Let it go. And whenever you're ready, you could just let that breath hold go. And begin to take deep inhales through the nose, long exhales out through the mouth. Breathing back in that peace. Breathing in that calm and connection. breathing in that life, that gift of life you've been given. All the joys and blessings. Breathe it in. And four more breaths here. Breathing in those unique callings that God's given you. And 2 more breaths. One more deepest breath of the practice. And just let it all go. And just finding stillness. Bringing awareness back into the space. Back into how you want to show up for the rest of your day. Noticing any changes you might feel in your soma, in your body. And just knowing you can always come back to the breath. It's always there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long was that?
Yeah.
What I didn't.
That was about, the breath was about 5 minutes.
Okay.
What I did before was an awareness exercise and there's music with you normally, and music is powerful. The music kind of gets you into it with the breath. And yeah, so it brings awareness to, it's basically pulling apart your physical sensations, what you're feeling, your emotions, and then stories, your mind, and peeling those apart, bringing that awareness before you start. So that way you're kind of identifying, what am I actually feeling? What is my body feeling? Maybe there's some tension in my hips that I want to breathe out. Maybe it's physical release. So feeling that before you go into it's helpful to kind of bring in that intention of peace or joy or whatever it is. Mm-hmm.
And that would be something easy to do in the morning. And you did it for 100 days, and it changed your life, changed your career path, right?
It really changed everything. I actually documented the journey. I journaled it. I journaled emotions that came up, stories, whatever it was I was going through. I documented it, and I wrote down how I felt,
Mm-hmm.
wrote down if it was hard one day, harder than another day. Maybe it was easier to get into the practice one day than another day, and why that was. And yeah, so I was abroad actually with John Luke for, which Danny, for about 6 weeks in Europe. And I kind of fell out of the practice a little bit, just going, and the days were busy, and I felt it. I could feel just a tension. I could feel things building up that a daily practice helps relief. And so it really does, it can change
That's
everything.
that's cool. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should?
About the breath,
Yeah.
so this is cool when you're just talking about when you first began this episode about different types of breath work, and there's hundreds of types of breath work, and they all serve different intentions, and they all have different roots. But somatic breath work has no religious tie, if you will, kind of like yoga has those ties. And so that's another thing that's really beautiful about it, is just to acknowledge the breath in and of itself without anything else going on. And actually, the name Yahweh, which is the Hebrew word for God, when you say Yahweh and pronounce it how it's properly pronounced, it actually mimics a breath. So when you're saying the name of God, Yahweh, you're actually mimicking a breath.
Right.
So I kind of see this as a little bit of a sassy, cool, just the way that God, how he is, just how he's like, you're going to acknowledge my authority no matter what. So if you're breathing, if you're alive, you're breathing.
Right.
Even if you're not breathing like you could, you're still breathing. And God's saying it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter who you are, whatever you claim to believe. If you're breathing, you're still acknowledging my authority and who I am. So that Yahweh, the name with the breath. So it's really, really cool to, and I see breath everywhere now.
That's yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah.
So Morgan, if people want to learn more about somatic breathing, breath work, therapy, where can they get a hold of you?
So just my website, morgantyner.com. You can go there, or even I'm on Instagram at Morgan B. Tyner. And if you go to one of my highlights, it says lives, and I have tons of daily practices you could go through, complimentary, and just get a taste, your own pace, to see what this is about. Would love to answer any questions you might have.
So Morgan didn't ask me to do this, but I actually have a special guest who I need to have come over because Morgan just released a kid's book.
I did.
I brought one of my kids here. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, you want to say hi? Say hi.
I'm ready to see you in person.
You like Morgan's new book about the butterfly? Morgan, quickly talk about your new children's book.
Yeah, that's so fun. So yeah, it brings in the breath. Shocker, right? I wrote this children's book in an hour on tax day, April 15th, which is just a funny. I remember it because of that. But I've been wanting to write a book. Yeah, I was getting my taxes ready right now. I have a new thing to add to my taxes, but I wanted to write a book for years. I didn't know what about it. I didn't know how. I didn't even know why. I just knew I wanted to write something. And so this kind of came up and out in really divine manner. And it's butterflies are the characters, insects, and basically it's very wellness centric. And what it does is it in a short form, it teaches you really about a little bit of the story I shared today with Danny, getting into the breathing, learning about what it can do for our bodies and how it can connect us more to how God's designed us to be and show up. And so basically hoping to teach children how to regulate and worship with their breath. Yahweh is the name of God. You're worshiping with your breath if you're breathing, and we all are if we're alive. So that is the intention of this book, is to connect you to the unique callings that God's given you, and how tuning into your breath and how that can connect you back to that and the purpose you have in this life. So, and I'm actually a character in it, so it's colorful insects, and John Luke's in it. Our dog's in it. She's a ladybug. So
that's awesome. See, did you like your book? Who you read? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gone. Well, it's been my pleasure, Morgan. I really appreciate it. Guys, this has been the Earn Your Title podcast, and my name is Danny Dumas, and I will talk to you later. Bye.